2. Cameron 2 is up. Go, Walter.
Okay, Walter Lachlan and Ron Wigglesworth back at Paris, Kentucky at Blanton Collier Stadium for the regional championship game between the Frankfort Panthers and the Paris Greyhounds. Frankfort down 13-0. Paris got 2 quick touchdowns in the first half, and mental mistakes on the Frankfort part helped them get there.
Right, exactly, Walter. Right now, in the first half, the whole story of the first half has been a couple of errors by the Frankfort Panthers and the fact that the Greyhounds took advantage of them, and that's really the difference in the ball game. The game's been fairly even. I think statistically it would be in Paris's favor somewhat because they have moved the ball. Really, the most impressive drive of the whole first half was in the right there at the end when Paris took the ball from their own 6-yard line and ended up finally turning the ball over around the 15-yard line for the Greyhounds. So, you know, as of right now, it's still anybody's ball game. Even though the Frankfort Panthers are down 13-0, Walter, I feel like with a couple of big plays, they can get right back in this and make a good ball game of this in the second half.
Well, the Panthers are definitely going to have to get rid of these mental mistakes they've been making, and you know Coach Webb keyed on that when he spoke to him at the half. Panthers coming back onto the field now, as are the Greyhounds, getting ready to start the second half of the game. We've got just under 3 minutes until the second half gets underway, according to the clock.
Had a little bit longer halftime tonight. It had 15 minutes, and then for some reason, I don't know whether the officials didn't notify the teams, but both teams just came back on the field, and as the rule normal, you get 3 minutes to warm up, so the officials had them reset the clock for 3 minutes, and I'm going to give them a chance to warm up. So I believe, now correct me if I'm wrong, Walter, but I believe it'll be Frankfort kicking off to the Greyhounds, and if this ball game is going to get switched around a little bit, the Panther defense is going to have to dig in and hold, try to keep the Greyhounds down their own territory, and hopefully come up with some advantageous field position. And really, one thing we haven't commented about in this first half, but field position has been the main story of the game as far as the Paris Greyhounds are concerned.
Well, that's right. Frankfort has allowed Paris to run the ball wherever they've wanted to. They've had some good passes thrown against them, and Paris has had some bad breaks on some passes. Tim Hardy. Okay, we'll give the production staff a credit here. We have Robin Phillips, Carol Sweezy, Jim Bell, and Dan Filiatru. And there we are again, Walter Lachlan and Ron Wigglesworth. Paris running across the field, warming up. Frankfort over in the huddle talking to their coaching staff, which consists of Raymond Webb, who is in his last season as the Frankfort coach. He's decided to hang it up again after this year. Ron, what are your thoughts?
Well, if in fact he does hang it up, and I know Coach Webb has already announced that he was going to retire from football. Actually, it'll be the second time, Walter, that he's retired. He gave it up in the early 80s for about a 3-year period and then finally decided to take it back. But I think Coach Webb, you know, has decided this would be his last year. But, you know, you never know what can happen after he has a little time off at the end of the season and starts thinking about it again. I know Coach Webb enough to know that football's in his blood, and it's a vital part of him. And, you know, who knows what might happen. I'd hate to see him give it up with a loss here over here in Paris, because it seems like the Greyhounds has been a nemesis for the Frankfort Panthers over the years. It seems like that these two teams have played some good games, but unfortunately Paris has come on the winning end of most of the important games.
Well, ironically, if this did end up being Coach Webb's last game, it would be a repeat of the '81 season when Frankfort came down here in what turned out to be Coach Webb's last game at that time and lost to the Paris Greyhounds under head coach Randy Reese, 6-0.
6-0. I was at that ball game. It was real strange. I was thinking this week when I found out I was going to be here watching the game that the last time I saw these two teams play was 1981. And I'll never forget it. It was an exciting ball game, a defensive struggle, and late in the ball game, Frankfort punted. I can't remember the Paris player's name, but he took the punt at about his own 35, 40-yard line, and I can still see him running right down the middle of the field and took it in and scored. And the Greyhounds ended up beating Frankfort that time 6-0 and went on into the state playoffs. That was actually in the playoffs at that time, and it ended the Panther season. I know Lynn Harris, a fine defensive nose guard for the Panthers. He was a senior that year, but that's the last time I saw these two teams play.
And Jeff Wired, who's an assistant coach for the Panthers, was also a senior that year. The Panthers kicking off for the first time tonight. The kicker is going to be Andy McEwen, who's also plays tackle for the Panthers, and the deep backs for the Greyhounds are number 26, Luane Edwards, and number 34, Brian Washington. And there's the kick to open the second half. McEwen's kick is taken by Edwards at the 15-yard line. Edwards gets a hole up the middle and runs the ball back to about the 33, where he's stopped by the Panthers, and the Greyhounds have a first down.
Well, that was a nice kick by McEwen that time, and Edwards scores on a nice run back. It's going to be Paris's ball just inside their own 35-yard line. And Walter, I noticed down here on the right side about where the ball is, that seems to be the worst part of the field at this time.
Well, I was out there walking around before the ball game, and you're right, there's a lot of low spots, and they all seem to come together right there where that mud puddle is, and it kind of looks like a baseball infield almost. Paris coming out of their huddle, lining up in the eye.
Throwing the ball the first play.
And that was good for about a 5-yard gain to the 40-yard line. The receiver on that was Brian Washington. And a 5-yard gain for the Greyhounds puts the ball at the 41.
It's going to be a pickup of about 7, I believe. Going to leave about a 2nd and 3 situation. And, you know, it's interesting that the Greyhounds have a 7-0 lead, but they come back out. They've got their spread formation, and the first play off is they throw a little pass out on the right flat and pick up 7 yards.
Well, I think Paris probably knows as well as anyone that just because Frankfort's down, they're certainly not out of it. And Paris is wanting to put Frankfort out of it. Looked like Edwards, the ball carrier on that. He carried for about 2 yards, close to a first down, but looks like he's going to be a little short of it.
That's that same play that the Greyhounds ran a number of times in the first half. They were in the eye, they ran the near back, the fullback up, kicked out on the end, and ran the play off tackle. And the officials have called for a timeout for a measurement. It's going to be close, but once again, as we commented earlier, Walter, if Frankfort's going to get in this game, and it is going to be a first down for the Greyhounds, but if Frankfort's going to get back in this game, they need to do something defensively right here on this series, not let the ball get over the 50-yard line. They need to try to get field position once, because I think the best field position they've had through the entire first half was about on their own 34-yard line, and even though that's not real bad, that's not near as good as field position as the Greyhounds have had.
Well, of course, the Paris defense stifling Frankfort down inside the 5-yard line when Tim Hardy returned that interception. We thought Frankfort was going to score, but they just weren't able to put it in. Sewell's pass is complete to Robbie Arrowwood near midfield. And that'll bring up about second and 5 for the Greyhounds at their own. Probably going to spot the ball at about their own 49.
And it's going to be about 2nd and 3 again. And once again, Paris comes up, runs a little play action, throws the ball to the front side of the formation, hits the man on just a little down and out pattern, gains 7 yards. And, you know, you can't afford, when you're down 13-0, you can't afford to give up a easy 7 yards on first play.
Griggs is in for Stewart in the Paris lineup. Paris lining up in the split backfield. Looks like that option to the left, and the ball carrier just got nowhere on that. Hit a swarm of Frankfort players. That was Darren Gray. And looks like we might be having a couple of words between some Frankfort and Paris players.
Well, I think some of the Frankfort players have finally decided they're going to get a little fired up here. The ball carrier there for the Greyhounds, number 21, was Gray, and he took the ball off his left side, off left tackle, and picked up about a yard. But that time a number of the Panthers came in and swarmed on him, and he didn't like the fact that they ended up putting him back on his back. Going to be about 3rd and 2 from about the 48-yard line, Walter.
And this is where Frankfort really has to stop the Greyhounds, because Greyhounds are in Frankfort territory, although just barely.
The Panthers need to come up with a big play here and force the Greyhounds to punt. Exactly.
The Greyhounds lining up in the eye, and it's a give to Edwards, and he gets it out over the 40-yard line. He was breaking tackles. Looked like he was going to get away.
I tell you, Edwards is a fine-looking back. I really thought they looked like there might be motion there, but Paris came up and snapped the ball relatively quick. They end up picking up what looks like to be about 7 yards, and Wayne Edwards ran for a good first down. That was on like a little sprint draw play, Walter, and they're going to have the ball right at the 40-yard line of the Panthers.
Good run by Edwards. Paris in their huddle. Frankfort lining up across the line. Paris coming out of their huddle. Look like they're headed for a split backfield.
Little dive play away from the formation, and there again, a pretty decent, well, about a 3-yard gain looks like for Edwards. And Paris is just using such a diversified offense here in this ball game. We saw them on the long drive just before half, line up in an unbalanced with only 2 backs, and now they've gone back to their spread offense, and they've come up with a couple big plays, Walter, and right now everything's going the Greyhounds' way.
Well, of course, Summers was able to get that ball away because Paul Looney was just right in there on him on that play. So they evidently have good confidence in the speed of their backs, and the give is to Darren Gray. Gray looks like he got about 4 yards out of it before he's brought down. Hits on that were by Donald Perry and Andy McEwen, and Stephen Brown also getting up from that pile for the Panthers.
And you know, right now the difference in the ball game at this point, and probably the difference in the ball game so far, has been the play of the 2 lines for the 2 teams. The Paris Greyhound offensive line has really done a good job controlling the defensive linemen of Frankfort, and that's probably been the difference in the game.
Well, of course, I think the tradition between these 2 teams certainly has to play a factor into it. The first ball game that either of these teams ever played all those years ago were between each other. And, of course, Paris gets a big gain. Edwards, the ball carrier on that. He carries for a first down to about the Frankfort 23 or 24-yard line.
That 24-yard line, and once again, they came up in the split backs and had formation right with the flanker out on the right side and ran nothing but a little outside veer play with the dive back off left tackle, and he picked up a good gain for the first down. And once again, here in the second half, we see the Greyhounds taking the ball on a nice, long, sustained drive, not making any mistakes, and do a good job, doing a real good job of executing.
Okay, we have an official timeout on the field, adjusting Stephen Brown. Okay, here's the replay coming up.
All right, this is on the first down play just a second ago, and that was Wayne Edwards coming off his left side, right off the left tackle, and picking up a good gain. And that's been a real good play for them. They line up formation one way and come back on the weak side, and they picked up good yardage on it.
Okay, Paris coming out of their huddle, lining up in split backfield. The halfbacks are Darren Gray and Edwards for the Greyhounds. Looks like the Frankfort defense did a very good job of getting in there that time. Paul Looney and Daryl Bell in on that tackle. That was Darren Gray, the ball carrier.
That was a little inside trap, and the interior lineman Bell for the Panthers did a real good job. They tried to pull a guard and bring him back over left side and run just a little short trap inside, and that time the Panther defense did a good job, so they lost about a yard there. It's going to be 2nd and 11.
Well, one thing that's certainly been evident in this Panther defense, and I certainly hope I don't jinx them, is the lack of the mental mistakes that they had in the first half. That was Edwards, the ball carrier. Gets down to about the 20, where he's stopped by Tim Hardy for the Panthers. Good gain by Edwards. He's a good all-purpose back.
That was a sprint draw. They came up, had a split in left, flanker right. Looked like they were going to run a little sprint action pass to the right side, and instead they left it off with Edwards off his right tackle, and he ends up picking up about 5 yards, Walter. It's going to make it approximately 3rd and 6. Ball down inside about the 20-yard line. The Panthers, this is a real big play right here. Frankfort needs to dig in and force Paris maybe to try to kick a field goal.
Miscue between Edwards and his quarterback Summers, and Summers just gets stopped by the Frankfort defense. The two of them just ran into each other.
Well, that was a good play. I didn't catch the number for the Panthers, but whoever that lineman was, he ended up stopping the ball carrier, and then Edwards tried to take the ball back. He was going to leave the ball off, Summers was going to leave the ball off with Edwards going off the left tackle, and when the back was stopped, Summers tried to take the ball back and go around the left end, and the Frankfort player had a hold of both of them and took both of them down.
Okay, here's a replay on that. I think that Frankfort player getting in there was Sean Robinson or Joe Hancock. Now it's Sean Robinson and Paul Looney in on.
Paul Looney, 83. That was a good play.
Okay, we have a flag on the field. Stephen Brown celebrating, indicating it may be against the Greyhounds.
We had 4th and about 7, and the flags were thrown, and I believe they're going to call this on Paris. I believe I saw the right guard for the Paris Greyhounds. He looked like he'd leaned back in his stance a little bit and got in motion. So it's a illegal procedure penalty on the Greyhounds. It's going to take it back 5 yards, and that's going to leave the Greyhounds with about a 4th and 11 or 12 from just outside their 25, about the 26, 27-yard line, Walter. So that right there could be a big mistake, one of the few mistakes we've seen the Greyhounds make tonight.
The Greyhounds have played as close to flawless football as you can see a high school team do. That brings up about 4th and 12, as Ron said. Greyhounds really too far out for a field goal, so they're going to go for it out of what Frankfort calls the triangle.
This is a trips. This was a trips right, and they're throwing back to the receiver left, and it's knocked down in the end zone. I'm not sure who the Panther player is, number 22 for Frankfort.
Well, I'll tell you, 4 years ago, that was me, so let's see who that is.
It looks like Quincy Truman. Is that Thurman?
Quincy Thurman.
Quincy Thurman, 9th grader. That was a great play, and it's going to give the Frankfort players, the Frankfort Panthers, the ball on about their own 27-yard line. And Walter, there's what some coaches call a sucker play. Paris came up, had trips lined up the right, had a split in with 2 slot people in on the right formation, and then they threw the ball back over to the left, hoping to catch the Frankfort defender off guard, but he did a good job knocking it down. So the Panthers have the ball on their own 27, 1st and 10.
Well, as you said, Quincy's only a freshman, but he's played quite a bit this year, and he's had a good heads-up game anytime he's ever played. Brown on the keeper for the Panthers. He breaks a couple of tackles in the end zone before he's hit hard by Gray at the 30-yard line.
Gray did a good job responding for the secondary, and it looks like that the Panthers are going to try to run a one receiver out, and they're attempting to get number, who was that, 20? Was that Thurman, number 22? It looks like.
Sure is.
Yeah, it looked like they're trying to get 22, Thurman, to run a deep drag across the field. Only problem with that play is it takes a long time to get it off. So Frankfort Brown picked up about 4 yards for the Panthers on that scramble.
Frankfort in a split backfield. Brown back to pass. He scrambles out of his pocket to the right. Throws for Donald Perry at the 35. Perry advances the ball to the 41 of the Panthers, and Frankfort seems to be getting their offense on track.
Well, they've made one first down, Walter, and to be honest with you, I think Coach Webb has finally decided. I'm sure Coach Jeff Wired had some input into this, but I think the Panther coaching staff has decided we can't line up in the so-called Bell Point T and go foot to foot against the Greyhounds. So what they're doing is they're widening out their formations a little bit, and they decided they're going to come out and try to throw the ball on Paris.
Frankfort coming out of their huddle, look like they're lining up in the split backfield. Weidman and Bell, the backs. Frankfort's lined up in a triangle. The give is to Bell up the middle, and Bell rambles for about a 5-yard play before he's brought down by Kevin Berryman for the Greyhounds. Bell's just a good hard runner.
And I'll tell you, that's the nicest job of blocking that the Frankfort line has done tonight, because if Bell had his head up a little bit and broke back inside, the Panthers were knocking the Greyhounds off the ball that time, and I think he would have picked up a few more yards if he just broke back inside a little bit.
Frankfort does have some extremely good linemen. Marty Hammonds and Joe Hancock are usually at the guards, and Gary Preston and Andy McEwen at the tackles, and they've got good size across the line, and they've got good speed. The give is to Weidman. Weidman runs into a stack of Paris defenders. Still looks like he gets about 2 or 3 yards out of the play.
Did a good job keeping his feet moving and spun. That time the Paris front line did a much better job of clogging it up, but Weidman, as you said, did a good job. He kept his feet moving and broke around and ended up picking about 3 yards up. So it looks like at Walter it's going to be ball's on about the 49-yard line of Frankfort, and it's going to be about 3rd and call it 4. Actually, probably a long 3 with about 2 minutes and 58 seconds to go in the 3rd quarter. So this right here is a big play for the Panthers. They need to get a first down, get this ball across the midfield stripe.
Well, Frankfort certainly hasn't been as effective as they'd like to be doing that, so hopefully they'll be able to get this together. Bell and Weidman in the backfield. Brown calling the signals. The give is to Weidman. He runs off the left end. If they give him forward momentum, he may have gotten it, but it's awfully close.
It's going to be dependent on the spot. Weidman did a real good job breaking back inside. I believe it's going to be just short. It's going to be close, though. I think the officials might measure this one. yes, we're going to have a official timeout. And that time, Frankfort set their formation up this side. They had a flanker right and actually had both backs set, and they ran actually a back short of what's called goal line belly power, more like what's called goal line belly, and tried to get to the corner, but Paris did a good job coming up and shutting the initial play off, but then Weidman did a tremendous job spinning back inside and getting real close to the first down.
Looks like Frankfort's about a foot short of the first down. That'll bring up fourth and a very short one for the Panthers at the Paris 49-yard line.
And I believe they're going for it. It looks like to me with just under almost 2.5 minutes to go in the third quarter. Frankfort's had the ball at their deepest penetration on their own part. They had the interception early that they had the ball down inside the 6, but here with about fourth and less than 1 at the 49-yard line, the Greyhounds are going to go for it and try to get something established. This right here could be a very, very big play in this ball game, Walter.
Frankfort's lining up in the Bell Point tee. They've got Thurman and Weidman in their backfield at halfbacks, and they've got Brown on the keeper. Brown appeared to carry for about 4 yards, and that'll be good for a first down.
You know, it surprises me there. The Paris players, a lot of them standing around that time, and when you got that kind of play on a 4th and 1, that's when you need to get your noses down on the ground and make some piles in there so you don't allow pickup.
Well, I think maybe Frankfort coming out in the Bell Point tee might have thrown him for a loop a little bit.
Okay, we got a first down for the Panthers. The ball spotted just outside the 45-yard line. So with just under 2 minutes, or right at 2 minutes to go in the third quarter, the Panthers have their most serious march of the game, Walter.
Well, Frankfort's got to put the ball in the end zone here if they want to come back and win this game. The give is to Bell. Bell still on his feet, gets about 3 yards out of it, running over Paris and Frankfort players.
That's right. That time that he ran over not only the Paris Greyhounds, but he ran over some Frankfort Panthers, I believe, as well. He's a big, strong, nice-looking young man, and I'm sure Coach Webb and the rest of the Panther staff have decided, let's give Mr. Bell the ball a few plays and see if he can do anything with it inside.
Well, it looked like Darrell might have had a little hole off to the right and just couldn't see it. So he just decided to take his forward momentum and go where he could, and the Panthers have the ball at about the Paris 43-yard line, and they're lining up in a split backfield. Brown back to throw. Brown's throw is complete to Donald Perry, the 35. He breaks the tackle to the 30. He's down at the 25.
Down inside the 25-yard line, and that was a big play, Walter, a big play.
Frankfort needed that. Donald Perry almost got stopped back here at the 35, and that, if he'd fallen on the other side of that yard line, it wouldn't have been good for a first down. But he gets a good second effort and gets down to about the 24-yard line and for a Panther first down.
Frankfort has the ball down right at the 25-yard line, Walter, and I tell you, that was a nice pass and catch. And one of the fallacies of the man-to-man coverage that Paris is running is if you do hit a receiver and if the first man doesn't make the tackle, then it takes a while for the rest of the defense to get there to make the tackle.
Frankfort in the Bell Point tee. Brown at quarterback. The give it to Thurman off to the left. Thurman gets a hole. He goes back to his right, and he looked like he got about, I don't know, Ron, what did he get, about 5 or 6 yards out of that?
Looked like he got about 6 yards, and I tell you, all of a sudden the Frankfort Panthers have come to life, and coaches often talk about Mo, or what's called momentum, and it looks like right now that the momentum has gone to the far sidelines with Coach Webb and the Panthers, and they're just grinding the yardage out here. It's going to be about 2nd and 5, Walter. Coach
Webb certainly doesn't like to play freshmen, but Quincy Thurman is just doing a really good job in there. The give again is to Thurman. Same play. He doesn't get as much on it that time. Maybe a yard, maybe nothing at all.
Well, that time it looked like some number 22 for the Greyhounds, Lucian Stewart, came in off the backside, actually, it looked like, and got a hit on the Frankfort ball carrier and slowed him down a little bit. So it's going to be about 3rd and 4. Picked up maybe a yard on that play. And one thing I've noticed, Walter, with the Frankfort offense here in this drive, and by far the best drive they've had, there's only 4 seconds left to go in this quarter. And we see that Frankfort has called the timeout, and Coach Wired is out on the field discussing it with his offensive team. But one thing I've noticed in this series of downs for the Panthers, they've just decided to line up. They haven't been in the Bell Point tee the entire time, but they're more or less running right at Paris and more or less saying, hey, we're going to get back in this ball game running right at you.
Well, Frankfort's finally realized that they can play against this team and that they need to quit making these mental mistakes. And they seem to have eradicated those pretty well, at least through most of the third quarter.
Exactly, and I would say we didn't keep stats in the first half, but I would say if my memory serves me correct, they've probably gained more yards. They being the Frankfort Panthers have gained more yards in this drive than they gained the entire first half. Okay, the timeout's over and the Panthers lining up. Looks like they've lined up in the Bell Point Tee again. It's going to be about a 3rd and 4, Walter. And the ball spotted, I guess, just about the 20-yard line.
And Brown calling signals over center. The give is to Darrell Bell off the left side. And Bell rambles through for a Panther first down at about the, looks like the Greyhound 9 or 10-yard line. Good run by Darrell Bell. Good blocking by the Frankfort line.
That's what used to be called goal line belly. We talked about goal line belly power, and goal line belly power is when you give it to the far back and he has 2 lead backs in front of him. That particular time they handed the ball off to Bell, the fullback, and he ran off left tackle. The Panthers offensive line doing a good job controlling line of scrimmage, and if Frankfort can make something happen early in this quarter, they're right back in this ball game, Walter, because with a 13-0 lead, you scored 2 touchdowns and kicked the extra points both times, and all of a sudden you have the lead. So it is developing into a closer ball game.
Well, Frankfort certainly is playing like they're capable of playing, and I think it surprised the Greyhounds a little bit. Okay, and that is the beginning of the 4th quarter. We've got 12 minutes on the clock with Paris leading Frankfort 13-0.
I believe the ball is going to be spotted on about, the clock says a 19-yard line, but I believe the ball is actually a little bit deeper than that. We're going to wait and see. We've got a little bit better view here of this side. The officials look like they're taking the ball down. It's going to be
about the 9.
Let's see. Now he's going to march back this way, so it's going to be about the 12-yard line, looks like, Walter. So the ball is spotted on the 12-yard line. It's going to be 1st and 10 for the Frankfort Panthers, going to our left, down on the 12-yard line of the Greyhounds. And really, as we said earlier, a number of times in this drive, this is by far the best-looking drive the Panthers have put together. And if they're going to make a ball game out of it, they need to score now. They need to score this series of downs.
Well, Frankfort's back in the Bell Point Tee with Weidman, Thurman, and Bell. Brown at quarterback. And the give is to Darrell Bell. Bell gets nowhere on that. He ran into one of his blockers and just couldn't get away from it.
I believe Bell might have made a mistake there. He looked like he ran that ball in a little bit tighter than he's been running it. He actually got tripped up by the feet and legs of one of his own blockers. And I believe if that happened to be the same play that they got the first down on a few minutes ago, he probably ran that a little bit too tight. He should have been outside just a little bit more.
Well, despite running into his blockers, Bell still got a yard on that. That brings up 2nd and 9 for the Panthers. Right at just this side of the Paris 10. Frankfort again in the Bell Point Tee. And the give is to Thurman. Thurman off to the left side. He gets down inside the 5 to about the 4 where he's stopped.
That was a nice play, and all of a sudden the Panthers in these last few plays, Walter, they seem to have found a home on their left side. And that's opposite of where Frankfort usually runs the ball. Frankfort traditionally has been a right-handed ball club, and they usually run the ball on the right, but it seems like these last few plays that they've decided they can run towards Paris's, or to their left, which is towards Paris's right.
And the ball is spotted just on the other side of the 5-yard line at the left hash mark. Paris lining up again in a 4-man front. Frankfort still in the huddle.
Yeah, it looks like it's going to be on about the 4-yard line, just inside the 5. It's going to be about a 3rd and 3, Walter.
Frankfort's coming up in the Bell Point Tee again. Darrell Bell in the middle, Quincy Thurman and Thomas Weidman flanking it. The give is to Bell. Bell goes up the middle. He gets about a 2-yard gain on forward momentum, but they push him back.
Yeah, and I think there again, it looked like to me that the play was actually set up to go a little bit farther outside, and Bell might have run that play just a little bit tight inside, but still he gained about half of what he needed, so it's going to be about 4th, just under 2 yards inside the 5-yard line for the Frankfort Panthers. So this is a big play. We've talked about several big plays, but if the Panthers are going to do anything, they need to get this first down right here.
Well, you certainly hate to try and second-guess Coach Webb, but down at the other end of the field, the Panthers were successful with Stephen Brown keeping the ball over the middle. So let's see if that's what they do. Frankfort in the Bell Point Tee. Brown on the keeper over the middle.
He looks like me. He got it. Looks like to me. Now
Frankfort players signaling touchdown.
They've evidently blown it dead, but I believe he got the first down, Walter, because they just blew off the line and ran it right over their right guard. The officials are signaling for...
They're signaling first down.
They're signaling first down. Okay, they signaled timeout, and I guess they decided to give it to the Panthers, and it really looked like Brown made it all the way in, but the ball's going to be spotted just inside the 1-yard line, so Frankfort with 9:35 to go on the clock right down in where they need to score, take this one in, make this a ball game.
Well, Frankfort's got first down and hair's breadth for the touchdown. Let's see if they can put it in. Line it up in the Bell Point tee. Again, Bell, Weidman, and Thurman. Brown at the quarterback. Wonder if they'll do that keeper again. Now the give is to Thurman to the outside, and he's in for the touchdown. Frankfort scores with 9:12 remaining in the game. The score is Paris 13, Frankfort 6, and if Frankfort can keep Paris out of the end zone, they're right back in this ball game.
Well, you know, Walter, you can always look back in the course of the ball game and say, what if, what if, what if? But late in the first half, the Panthers are actually, I guess, with about 6 minutes to go in the first half, they'd intercepted the pass and run it back all the way to the 6-yard line. And if they had scored then, that play right there could have tied it up. But Frankfort's lining up. Look like they're going to go for 2 here, Walter.
Well, of course, that's what Frankfort's done most of this season. They've been very effective at it. Brown back to throw. He's looking for he's looking for Donald Perry. And the conversion's good. And Frankfort's only down by 5. A touchdown will put them ahead.
Touchdown put them ahead. Walter, that's what you call goal line belly power throwback. They lined up in the power tee all the way down the field, run the ball off the left side. That time they faked the ball, left off tackle. Brown did a real good job of making the fake, and then he rolled back to his right, and he found the Frankfort receiver, number 80, Perry, wide open. Matter of fact, they had about 2 receivers down there wide open that they could have gone to.
Well, of course, the goal line belly power has been the mainstay of Frankfort's offense for as long as Coach Webb's been there, and probably going back to Ollie Leathers whenever he first started running the tee from.
All right, have a replay here of the touchdown, Walter, and I believe it just inside the 1-yard line. You see it. There is the goal line belly power off the left side, and you can see the running back there for Frankfort, 22, actually just walked into the end zone. There was no one to.
Extra point.
All right, here's the extra point. We're going to see the fake this side. Brown rolling out, and he's throwing number 80 wide open in the end zone. You can see him right there. 2 real nice plays for the Panthers, and now the burden of proof is on the Paris offense, and at the same time, the Frankfort defense needs to come in here, force Paris to turn the ball over here relatively early. You see Stephen Brown out ready to kick off, and there's a kickoff, Walter. It's a little short.
And Paris had 3 upbacks on that, and Gray, who's one of the upbacks, comes out and takes the ball to the 40. Paris with good field position.
Excellent field position. The ball's going to be about the 42-yard line, and that time the kicker for Frankfort just didn't do a real good job getting the ball downfield, but the Frankfort players look like they're all charged up all of a sudden. They realize they're right back in this ball game with just over 9 minutes to go.
Well, of course, the winner of this game will go on to play the winner of the Russellville-Todd County Central game. And of course, Russellville always one of the premier programs in the state, and Todd County Central this decade has had some really fine teams.
All right, first play coming over here to the right side, Wayne Edwards, and boy, a host of Panthers. The officials finally blow it dead because Wayne Edwards was twisting and turning and spinning, and about 7 or 8 Panthers finally came in to stop him. And I tell you what, it looks like we got a ball game here, Walter.
Yeah, Frankfort just wasn't wrapping up on their tackles. That's a lack of fundamental thinking on their part.
That was Wayne Edwards off tackle, and he actually lost a yard on that, so we're going to have 2nd and 11 from about the 41-yard line.
But despite that, Frankfort had enough men up there to stop him from getting forward motion. He broke enough tackles. If he'd had daylight, he could have gotten a first down, maybe even a touchdown out of that. Edwards again, the ball carrier. He's hit hard. He drops the ball, and it looks like Frankfort ball.
Frankfort's ball. They got the ball just on the 49-yard line, and I'll tell you what, the Panther fans on the other side of the field are going wild. Here with just over 8 minutes to go in the game, they've got a big turnover here right at midfield.
And that appeared to be Joe Hancock on the recovery for the Panthers. Of course, his father, Pat Hancock, was a contemporary of yours. And Joe, much like his father, is kind of an egg on toothpicks, but Joe's an awfully good ball player.
All right, we got a replay of the fumble here. I believe you're going to see Paris line up 9. It looks like just a little play right up the middle, and you can see the Wayne Edwards has plenty of running room, but he gets hit, and as he spins, you can see the ball pop loose, and the alert Panther defense come in and recover it just inside the about the 49-yard line for Paris, and I believe Paris has called a timeout here, and with 8:06 to go in the ball game, Walter, I tell you, the Panthers have the break they've been looking for all night long.
Well, I said that was Joe Hancock on the fumble recovery. Looking at the replay, I couldn't tell who it was, but I don't believe it was Hancock. And, of course, Pat, you'll be listening to this, so I certainly hope you don't hold anything against me.
All right, number 80, Donald Perry is who recovered that fumble. Number 80. Well, I tell you, 8 minutes to go in the game, that was a big mistake by the Greyhounds, and it's a shame that LaWayne Edwards had to be the one to call it up, because he's had just an excellent ball game running the football, and I know he's disheartened, as is the Paris defense, but, you know, the Frankfort still has to go almost 50 yards to get this ball in the end zone, and even though they did it the last drive, that's the only drive tonight that they've actually been able to maintain control of the football.
Well, hopefully this will put some life back into the Panthers. They've played a really fine game this second half, and of course that was one of the first mistakes by Paris this game, and of course you can chalk it up to a mistake, but it was also an extremely good defensive hit by Stephen Brown.
Okay, here we go. Bell Point T coming off the left side there. That was number 22.
That's Quincy Thurman for about 4 yards.
About 3 or 4 yards. Paris, I noticed that time the secondary and the defensive lineman for Paris, they've got everybody within 7 yards of the line of scrimmage. And I tell you what, if Frankfort, you know, if you recall, when they ran that little play-action pass, counter pass back to the other side, if the Paris defenders don't watch it, they're going to be so intent on stopping the running play, they could get burned with the pass here.
Frankfort out of the Bell Point tee. Brown, at quarterback, calling the signals. The give is to Wyman. No, Brown back to pass. Brown's rushed by Paris defenders. Thought he was going to get out of it, but he gets dropped for a loss. We have a flag down.
We have a piling on penalty, I believe, against the Paris Greyhounds, and I'll tell you, that is a big mistake. That is a big mistake because they had gotten Brown. The Panthers were going to run a play-action pass. They had him trapped. He'd actually had about looked like an 8-yard loss. But I believe where this ball is spotted, it's going to give the Panthers a first down because it's a 15-yard penalty. We got a personal foul on the Greyhounds, piling on after the play. And that's a big mistake with 7:25 left to go in the game.
And, of course, Frankfort will accept that penalty. And I think you're right, Ron. I think that will give Frankfort the first down. So instead of being third and about 15 or 16 from their own 45, they're going to be first and 10 from about the Paris 39.
Well, it's going to be, I thought the official where they marked the foul from, I thought it looked like it was going to be automatic first down, but it's going to be, actually after the spot, it's going to be about second, and it's going to be 3rd and 1, so Panthers still have to get 1 yard for the first down.
Well, I agreed with you. I thought it was going to be a first down, but it's not. Frankfort just running out of that huddle. They're wanting to get back in this ball game, and they want to win. Frankfort out of the Bell Point tee. The give is to Bell. Bell carries for about 2 yards, good 3 yards, good for a first down at the Paris 38-yard line. Frankfort's right back in this ball game.
I saw Bell do something there that I like to see, and that is when he got ready to go in the line of scrimmage where all those bodies were, he wrapped that ball up with both hands to make sure he wasn't going to fumble. So we got about 7:15 to go in the ball game, and Frankfort's on the march. They're on about the 38-yard line, Walter.
Well, Frankfort coming out, and again, they're staying with the Bell Point tee. They stayed away from it the first part of this half because of trouble in the first half, and now they're coming right back into it. The give was to Thomas Weidman. He got about a yard on that play.
Might have picked a little bit more than that. That was just a straight dive. They lined up Bell Point tee and just went straight dive left to Weidman, and I believe he might have picked up a couple. I don't know. It depends on where they stopped the forward progress because he got up to about looked like about the 36, 37-yard line. So maybe a yard of about 2, Walter. So it's going to be 2nd and 8.
2nd and 8 from the Paris 36-yard line.
Bell Point tee again.
Bell, Thurman, and Weidman in the tee. Brown, a quarterback. Brown passes to Donald Perry, just short of his reach.
Just out of the way, and I'll tell you, he was open. The receiver that time, Perry, did a tremendous job. If the ball had been not quite thrown as far, it could have been a first down, but now it's going to make a big play for Frankfort. It's going to be about 3rd and 8. And once again, you know, Frankfort lining up in that 2 tight ends, Bell Point tee, straight backfield, and the Greyhounds are kind of playing them foot to foot. So Frankfort needs to make something happen these next 2 plays.
Well, Frankfort definitely has to get a first down here or get close enough that they can be pretty confident that they can get it with a quarterback keeper or a short run. Brown back to pass. His pass was intended for Weidman. It looked like he got hit as he threw the ball, and the ball just bobbled short.
Yeah, I'm not sure he actually got hit, Walter. It looked like me the ball just came off his hand funny. I'm sure as slippery and as muddy and wet as it is out there that the players are having a hard time controlling the ball, but that's going to bring up a big play for the Panthers. It's going to be 4th and about 8, about the 37-yard line, and this could be the play of the game with just about 6:14 to go in the football game. 13-8, the Paris lead. This is a big play, Walter. We've talked about several big plays, but this is the biggest one to date.
And Frankfort lining up in a split backfield, breaking away from the Bell Point tee this time. Brown back to pass. We have a flag thrown. Looks like it's going to be on Quincy Thurman. Looked like he pushed off the defensive man. Pass was intended for Donald Perry, and he just couldn't get it.
I don't know who it's on. Let's see. No, it's going to be on Paris. It's going to be either, I think, defensive holding maybe. Let's see. Defensive pass interference. Defensive pass interference on the Greyhound.
Well, the ref certainly saw something I didn't, because maybe I just saw Quincy falling after he got hit, but it sure looked like he was going to have pass interference called against him. Well, that's a big break for the Panthers.
Big break for the Panthers, a big mistake on the part of the Greyhounds, and that's going to be, I believe, a 15-yard penalty, so that's going to give the Frankfort Panthers a first down, and that's going to take the ball down inside the 25-yard line to about the 22. So Frankfort's going to have the ball down at the 22-yard line of the Greyhounds, 1st and 10, Walter. And once again, the Greyhounds are making mistakes to keep the Panther drive alive.
Well, of course, the Panthers made critical mistakes in the first half that got the Greyhounds up 13-0, and now the Greyhounds are making these same mistakes, and that's getting the Panthers fired up and believing in themselves, and they've got a first down on 2 Paris mistakes. It's a pitch out to Weidman.
First time
Weidman breaks the tackle. We have a flag down. Weidman gets down inside the 10, but we have a flag thrown in the vicinity of the line of scrimmage.
Okay, Walter, that was they'd broken the full house, and they had a flanker right, and that's the first time all night that we've seen the quick pitch out of the Panthers. And I believe it's going to be illegal use of hands on the Panthers. Probably what happens there, and what often happens, is when a lineman, they pull a tackle on that play, and a lot of times when your linemen pull, they tend to let their hands fly away from the body, and they get called for illegal use of hands. Now that will be from the spot of the foul. It looks like that the spot is actually about 5 yards downfield from where the initial snap was, so it's going to be take it back to about looks like the 28-yard line. So actually, even though it was a 10-yard penalty, it doesn't give them a 1st and 20, Walter. It actually gives them about looks like a 1st and 16.
Right. Right. Well, I believe that's the first penalty the Panthers have had called on them this half.
And I'll tell you one thing. I've been waiting for the Frankfort to show the old so-called quick toss, and that was the first time tonight that they'd run that.
All right, Frankfort lining up in the split backfield. Brown at quarterback. Weidman and Thurman. Brown's pass almost picked off by Luke Summers for the Greyhounds. That would have been a big break for Paris.
That's about the 3rd time tonight that the Paris Greyhound defensive backs have had their hands on the ball and had an interception in their hands, and they seem like they're so concerned about running the ball, they forget to catch it before they run. So that's definitely a big break for the Panthers. We've got about a 2nd and 17 with the ball spotted just on about the 28-yard line for the Panthers.
Exactly, and Frankfurt's dodged several bullets here in this series, and they've got to get the ball in the end zone. Split backfield, Brown back to pass, he's back deep. The throw was intended for Weidman. Weidman couldn't get his hands on it. A couple of Paris defenders trying to get a hold of it. Nobody could just get a hold on it. Brown looked like he was rushed on that throw.
Well, he was rushed, but that was a screen pass all the way, and I think, once again, fortunately for the Panthers, the Greyhounds had their hands on the ball and simply couldn't pull it in. Frankfort needs to get the ball, Walter, down around the 10-yard line for a first down. On the clock, they've got it 3rd and 15 from the 28, but actually it looks longer than than 15. It looks more like 16 or 17 there, but the Panthers have two downs to do it. So far, they haven't moved from there after the penalty, so anything still goes, Walter. We have about 5:35 left to go in the game.
Okay, Frankfort in the split backfield. Brown at quarterback. Brown, good athletic ability by Stephen Brown. He fumbled the handoff and he picked it up. The throw is deep. I believe that was a catch.
That was a tremendous catch. That was a tremendous catch.
That was just an incredible catch by, I believe that was Paul Looney that made that catch down inside the 10-yard line. He bobbled the ball 2 or 3 times and caught it on his back. Just an incredible effort by Paul Looney.
Walter, I've never seen a more phenomenal catch by a high school football player, I don't believe, in my life. That time, the quarterback, Stephen Brown, for the Panthers, was scrambling for his life, and he threw up just literally a Hail Mary. It looked like a jump ball pass. All right, we're going to have a replay here, and I believe we're going to see. All right, you got it in slow motion here. You can barely see it. Look at the
1, 2.
The ball's tipped. He's on his back, and he brings the ball in.
Tipped it twice and just brought it. Just an incredible effort by Paul Looney.
I have never seen better concentration. I've never seen better concentration. I've never seen better concentration on the part of a high school receiver. Looney literally caught that ball lying on his back.
Well, Looney's certainly been due this season. He's been a good mainstay in the Panther offense. And just some of the catches like that have been underthrown or overthrown, or they've just eluded him. So that's probably the culmination of the whole season for Paul Looney, no matter what happens.
Walter, and all the excitement, we failed to mention Coach Grenizen had called timeout for the Greyhounds. The ball is spotted on about the 3-yard line, so with 5:23 to go in the game, Frankfort has the ball first and goal to go on about the 3-yard line.
And they're in the Bell pointee. The give is to Bell. He goes up the middle, close to the goal line. One of the spectators signaled touchdown, but I think he was stopped short.
I believe he stopped just short, and looks like he's going to be down inside the 1-yard line. That was a nice play that time. Bell ran it just between his left guard and left tackle, and they seem to have found a home right there in that spot. It's going to be spotted just on the 1-yard line with 5 minutes to go in the game. And well, I tell you, it'd be something here if Panthers were to come back and take the lead here, or at least tie it up, or they can take the lead with this.
Well, of course, the Panthers have to keep their heads together, because right here a mental mistake would absolutely kill them.
Anything can happen.
And the give is to Thurman. He goes to the left outside. He stopped short of the goal line. Looked like he stumbled a little bit on his turn, and that helped his momentum go backwards.
Looks like he tried to cut the ball inside, and really I think if he'd gone ahead and run at the flag, he probably could have gotten in. But you know, it's always easy to second guess a running back when you're up here in the press box. But he did get stopped. Matter of fact, he lost, it looks like, a couple of plays, a couple yards, excuse me. So it's going to be about 3rd and 2.5. With just about 4:13, 4:12 left to go in the game.
Okay, again, Frankfort out of the Bell pointee. They're staying with that offense. Brown on the keeper. He doesn't look like he gets more than a yard if he gets that.
That was a quarterback sneak over left guard, and that time the Paris defensive lineman did a tremendous job. I saw one of their men, number 54, I know was one of the bodies down there. Also 61 and 71 were some of the people down there. 54, Kevin Parsons, 6'4", 250. He looked to be the man that actually jammed it up.
And 71, as you mentioned, was Jeff Holland for the Greyhounds. Frankfort down on about the 2-yard line with 4th down and goal to go. Frankfort's got to get in the end zone here. This would be just a tremendous emotional upswing for the Greyhounds if they don't.
Exactly, and with only 3 minutes, 45 seconds to go in the game, with what we've seen out of the Paris offense, if they can stop the Panthers here, they stand a good chance just to run the clock out and end the ball game because they have been able to play control football. Frankfort has called timeout with 3:48 to go. The ball's going to be spotted, it looks like, on about the 2-yard line. And, you know, really, the one play that hurt the Panthers here, they caught the nice pass, the Hail Mary pass to get down inside here. But on 2nd down, they ran the goal line belly power back to their left. And it looked like the field was just a little slippery down in there in the back. As he tried to cut, he kind of stumbled, and they end up losing a couple yards on that play. And Of course, I know you can always say if this hadn't happened or that hadn't happened, but that seemed to be a play that really hurt them. But here we go, Walter. This is the whole ball game right here.
Frankfort lining up in the Bell Point tee, and I'd say from his effectiveness that there's a good chance they're going to give the ball to Darrell Bell up the middle, try and get him in. Frankfort's got about a yard to go, and it's 4th down.
4th and 2, so let's see what happens. They're lined up in the Bell Point tee, as you say.
Brown calling the signals for the Panthers. Give us. He didn't give it. He's keeping it. Brown's running for the end. Yes!
Stephen Brown.
Oh, incredible touchdown, Panthers.
Stephen Brown. Walter, I kind of felt like that the Panthers may go back against formation. A tremendous play by Stephen Brown. You won't see many high school ball players make that kind of play, Walter.
Well, I'll tell you what's even more amazing is from the hit that Brown took on that, he's walking off the field.
Well, he didn't take a hit. I believe he just actually hurdled the defensive man.
I think you may be right, Ron.
Yeah.
And Frankfort takes the lead with 3 minutes and 40 seconds in the game.
Yeah, he's walking back, and I'll tell you what, those Panthers, they're happy people right now. With 3:40 to go in the game, the Panthers are taking the lead 14-13, and here they are going for a two-point
conversion.
That was tremendous play. That was a great
That was the kind of play the dreams are made of, Ron. Frankfort in the Bell Point tee from the 3-yard line for the 2-point.
And they're turned back.
Brown on the keeper, but with 3:40 in the game, Frankfort takes the lead 14-13 in the regional championship here at Paris.
I had a feeling, Walter, when they lined up that they might show that Bell Point tee and go back to the wide side of the field. And really what Coach Webb and Coach Wired and the Panther staff depended on, they depended on Stephen Brown's athletic ability, and he came through for him. He faked the ball on the old goal line belly power play back to the left. He kept it, rolled right. Paris had one defender covering him, and he managed to use his speed and his athletic ability to get outside of him. And then the Paris defender, the secondary man, was back on pass coverage in the end zone. Okay, we're going to have a replay here, and I think you'll see it. Here we're going to fake off tackle, coming to Frankfort's left. Brown fakes it, carries off. He comes around the defensive end, and then you're going to see him just tucking under. Watch this move right at the goal line. He literally hurdles the Paris player and jumps into the end zone. Tremendous athletic ability by Stephen Brown. As you said, Walter, those are the kind. Here's another look at field level. You see the fake right there. You see him sprinting around. He's got around, looks like 64 for Paris, and there he goes over the top and into the end zone. And of course, the burden now is going to be on the Frankfort defense. They're going to have to come in here with 3:40. They're going to have to turn back Paris. And if I had to be a guesser, I'm going to say that Paris is going to come out and they're going to show a lot of wide formations, and they're going to try to throw the ball, and the Frankfort secondary is going to have to come up with some big plays.
Well, of course, the diversification, the diversity of Paris's offense has been what's kept Frankfort down in this game, and now Frankfort takes the lead. And as you said, a tremendous athletic effort from Stephen Brown on the touchdown, and of course another tremendous effort by Paul Looney to set that up. It's just, you've seen two fantastic plays by a couple of high school seniors that are playing their last season for Raymond Webb at Frankfort High.
That number 64 for Paris was Kevin Berryman, and he was in the right spot, but unfortunately it was one of those circumstances where the back, Stephen Brown for the Panthers, was just too quick for the defensive man. Now we've got a delay of game for the Panthers for some reason. I don't know if they weren't ready or what the problem was, but they had a delay of game, so they're kicking the ball off from their own 35.
And Andy McEwen kicking off for the Panthers. Good kick by McEwen. It gets down inside the 30, and the ball is taken by Edwards. He gets to the 40. He stopped short of the 45 by Donald Perry for the Panthers to about the 43-yard line, where it'll be 1st and 10 for the Greyhounds with just over 3.5 minutes in the ball game.
And Walter, I might say this, if memory serves me correct, I know Paris has taken at least 2, maybe all 3 of their timeouts. We don't have an indicator on the scoreboard of how many timeouts they have left, but I know they've taken at least 2 timeouts while they were on defense. So with 3:30 to go in the game, they haven't got any timeouts, maybe other than 1 to stop it.
I think you're right, Ron. I think Paris has used all their timeouts. They certainly do have no more than 1. There's the pitch out to Edwards on the left, and he's cut from underneath by Quincy Thurman near midfield. Good tackle by Thurman. He just took Edwards' legs right out front.
First play, they came out in the spread formation. He had wide receiver each way, and they went with the sprint option to their left, pitched the ball to 26, LaWayne Edwards for the Greyhounds, and he picked up about 6.5 yards around left end.
And of course, not to not to take anything away from Edwards. It was a good run on his part as the ball spotted just on the Paris side of midfield. The give was to Gray on this play, and he gets dropped for about 1.5 yard loss. Frankfort defense has just really come alive in this second half, Ron.
Gray that time tried to make a cut in the field. As we said, it's been slippery, and it's getting slipperier all night long. With just about 2:30 left to go in the game, Paris has the ball at their own 48-yard line with about a 3rd and 4, Walter.
Well, of course, everyone knew that coming down here, you were going to see a really good ball game between these two teams. There's Edwards. He gets to the outside, and he goes out of bounds at about the 40.
Dwayne Edwards runs to about the 40. That, again, was a sprint option. And to be honest, it surprises me that the Frankfort secondary is not coming up any quicker. They can't allow Paris to march that ball down any quicker. That was a sprint option to their left. Paris does a good job walling off the wide people on that, and he takes the ball down the sideline, so it's going to be 1st and 10, Paris on the Frankfort 40, Walter.
Well, it's first, as you said, it's 1st and 10 at the 40. And I don't know, Ron, but the way Paris has been playing, I'm almost looking for him to throw on 1st down right here and try and catch Frankfort by surprise.
Well, you would think so, but they're moving the ball with Edwards running the ball. They're moving it at will.
Summers gives to Edwards. Edwards gets about 4 to the Frankfort 36, where he's taken down by Darrell Bell. Darrell Bell has just been a good mainstay for the Panthers in tonight's game and all season.
Paris must be out of timeouts. I'm not sure, but the way they're hurrying up and getting in the huddle and everything and not calling any timeouts, they ran a play there. They've got about 2nd and 6, and they're down on about the 35-yard line, the Panthers. Got a twin set to the left.
And there's that option to Edwards, and Edwards gives good second effort and gets a couple of yards that he shouldn't have been able to get out of that.
Okay, you got inside 1:40, Walter, and the clock's running down. And once again, I think Paris must be out of timeouts. The ball's going to be spotted on about the 33-yard line. It's going to be 3rd and about 3, and we're down inside 125 right now.
Of course, the clock working against both teams here. If Paris can put the ball in, that's going to leave Frankfort with very little time to score. Gray, the ball carrier for the Greyhounds. He gets it down inside the 10, where he's brought down by Weidman for the Panthers. That was a mistake the Panthers couldn't afford to make, Ron. They're up 14-13 with 1:11 in the game, and Paris in scoring position.
Well, it looks like the Panthers defense thinks they have the game won, and that time, you know, to Gray's credit, they ran him over left guard. He did a tremendous job. He cut back off his right side against the grain, and he almost took the ball in. He's down inside now the 9-yard line with just about 1:07 left to go in the game.
And of course, the referee just started the clock, and by the time they get this ball off, it'll be right at a minute, just under a minute. We have a flag down.
Yes, we have the left end for Paris. Jumped, is in motion. Who is that, 25, Robbie Arrowwood. He jumped that time, so it's going to cost them 5 yards. It's going to take the ball back out to about the 14-yard line, Walter.
Well, that's a mental mistake on Paris's part, and a good break for Frankfort, but Paris is a fine football team. They've got good running and throwing abilities, and they're with 1 minute in the ball game. They're on the 15-yard line, and they're always a threat when they're in this deep. Frankfort really has to just get a hold of themselves and win this game.
All right, it's going to be Paris's ball. They call that in. Well, the officials have called an official timeout right now, and they're discussing the play. And I think maybe what they're going to do is they're going to, let's see, I don't know. They called him in motion. Well, they called him offsides. They called the Paris player offsides. He said he jumped and broke the plane of the football. So Paris player was offsides, Arrowwood, and that's going to mark him back 15. So, or excuse me, mark him back 5 yards. So it's going to be, actually it's goal to goal. It's 1st and goal to goal from the 14-yard line. And the clock is running with 53 seconds to go in the game.
So Paris has got to get the ball in the next 2 plays if they want to win this game. And likewise for Frankfort, they've got to keep Paris. There's a fumble. Frankfort falls on the ball. It looks like
Frankfort has it. Looks like.
Yes, Frankfort ball. Ron, this may be the thorn, and this may be the feather in Frankfort's cap. The Frankfort players are just going nuts on the sideline.
Well, there.
Of course, Coach Webb is as unemotional as he can be.
Hey, I guarantee you, I've been over there for 7 years with Coach Webb. He's not unemotional.
No, he's certainly not, but he just doesn't show it.
You know, it's a shame. Now, there again, Edwards dropped the ball for the Greyhounds. All right, we got a replay. I think you're going to see the Greyhounds come out. They're coming to the right here. It's a sprint option. They pitched the ball to Edwards, and I don't know whether he took his eyes off of it, but you see the ball on the ground. The Frankfort defender who forced the pitch comes in and makes a tremendous play to get back on the football. And, you know, it's a shame, but in the second half here, we've had Edwards, who I think by far has been the outstanding offensive player for the Greyhounds, but he's put the ball on the ground twice for the Greyhounds, and it cost him a touchdown for the Panthers when he fumbled at the 49-yard line, and now here he fumbles on about the 20, I guess it's about the 19-yard line, and all Frankfort really has to do is follow on the ball about 3 plays, and this ball game's over.
Well, Paris has no timeouts left, and they're unable to stop the clock, so Frankfort could follow on the game and then even take a delay game penalty, and they'd still probably come up on the winning side of this ball game.
Okay, Frankfort's lining up in the Bell Point tee, and I would dare say that all we're going to have happen here for a number of plays is the quarterback's going to take the ball and go down on the knee.
Well, Ron, that's certainly not to take anything away from the Paris Greyhounds. They've had some mistakes go against them the second half, much as Frankfort did in the first half, and Frankfort just with a tremendous effort to come back in the second half. I think Coach Webb must be a little bit Irish.
Well, you know, there's an old saying, Walter, that it ain't over till the fat lady sings, and that has been used a number of times, but that's very true in the game of football. Here you can see the clock counting down with 17 seconds. I believe the referee spotted it, and Paris is going to use their last timeout. Paris did have one timeout, so with about 13 seconds to go on the clock, the Paris Greyhounds have stopped it so that the Panthers have to take one more snap. This is a frustrating position to be if you're Coach Brunhausen. His team has led the ball game the entire game up until about the 3:40 mark. They had led, and Frankfort just pulled off some tremendous plays late in the ball game in the fourth quarter to get the ball down close. And you know, it's a very frustrating thing to be on this side of the field. On the other side of the field, it's a feeling of euphoria. You're ecstatic because here you've been down all night, and with just under 4 minutes to go in the game, you've come back and taken the lead. And you know, anything can still happen. You know, you can have a mishandled snap and the ball can get away and somebody can pick it up, but unless there's a crucial mistake here made for the Panthers, this ball game is going to go back to Frankfort, and the regional trophy is going to go in the trophy case down on Shelby Street at Frankfort High School.
Well, it's certainly been too long that they haven't gotten one there. Brown takes the snap, goes down on his knee, and Paris can't stop the clock. Ron, that's the ball game.
Well,
6 seconds left on the clock.
I tell you, each coach and staff, Walter, and each team needs to feel some good things about this, because this is a tremendous game.
Well, Ron, the Panthers pulled what you have to call an upset, because I think even if it was by a point or 5 points in every poll taken, the Greyhounds were favored in this game. I don't think they were favored by more than 5 points. And Frankfort coming up with a 1-point victory on a tremendous second half effort. And of course, Paris, the fine ball club that they are, they'll be back in the thick of things next year.
Exactly, and as you look down on the field, Walter, you see what high school football is all about. Even though the Greyhounds are disappointed, they've lined up. They're going to shake the hands of the Frankfort Panthers. This was indicative of the ball games between these two fine institutions. These schools both have a tremendous football tradition, and it's a credit to both schools that they played as hard as they did, and this was a fine football game. It didn't look like it was going to be that way early.
No, it didn't. No, it didn't.
Because Frankfort made some big mistakes and looked like it was going to be over early, but here we have it at Blanton Collier Field, the Frankfort Panthers beating the Paris Greyhounds 14-13.
Let's do a closeout credits, and then if we can, we'll come back with Coach Webb.
Okay. All right, this has been a presentation of Cable 10 Television in Frankfort, Kentucky. The production staff, we'd like to thank Robin Phillips, Carol Sweezy, Jim Bell, and Dan Filatru. Excuse me, that's Dan Filiatru. I missed a syllable there. And, of course, just a fine, fine job of announcing done by Walter Laughlin and Ron Wigglesworth.
Walter, I'm glad you said that, not me. We are going to be back. We're going to try to get Coach Webb, after he has a chance to talk to his players, we're going to try to get Coach Webb and have a little interview with the winning coach. Once again, congratulations to Frankfort High Panthers on a big win for the region championship.
And the Panthers will play either the Todd County Central team or or Russellville next week at Sauerfield?
I say it will be the Russellville Panthers.
I'd say there's a good shot, and that will be the state semifinal.
Exactly.
Ron, thank you.
And Cable 10 TV will be there.
And Cable 10 will be there next week at Sauerfield.
It's the day after Thanksgiving.
Walter,
Walter Laughlin and Ron Wigglesworth here at Blanton Collier Stadium for Cable 10 in Paris, Kentucky. Here with Raymond Webb and the regional champion Frankfort Panthers, who've just defeated the Paris Greyhounds 14-13 in an extremely hard-fought second-half contest. Coach Webb.
Well, it's a great victory for us. It's not just a victory for these kids. I've been trying to tell them for the last 15 years, they carry a great tradition. There's a lot of good teams from Frankfort being beaten by Paris. They've got a certain amount of prestige back. I thought Paris was a fine ball club. We were fortunate to win. It could have gone either way, and we got the 2 big breaks and took advantage of them. But I can't fault my kids. They could have folded at any time in the first half, but they didn't, Walter, and I can't say enough about their effort. They finally start believing in themselves.
Well, Coach, you know, the way the first half started, it looked like this was going to be the way you were going to end your career that you did down here 9 years ago in a 6-0 loss, and the Panthers came back and won it for you.
I think they're just tormenting me.
yeah!
Well, Coach, of course, one of your players here said you're going to the state. Of course, next week at Sauerfield, you have either Todd County Central or the Russellville Panthers. What do you know about those 2 teams?
Absolutely nothing, except that 1967, Russellville kicked us from one end of the field to the other. I got a long memory.
Well, Coach, it's just been a tremendous night for you and for your team, and we'd certainly like to speak with any of the players that would care to, and talk to Stephen Brown, of course, and anyone that would want to speak. I see Ron Wigglesworth is wanting to speak to you.
I'd like to say something, and most of these guys weren't even born, but I couldn't help but feel the last 3 minutes of that ball game. These guys don't remember 1973, but in 1973, the Paris Greyhounds came to Sauerfield and played the Frankfort Panthers. Coach Webb, and you were the head coach there, and I was the first-year assistant for you. We ended up losing that ball game with 1 minute and 5 seconds going to game. Paris kicked a 35-yard field goal, and we ended up losing 15-14, and we were down inside the 10-yard line at the end of that ball game and almost scored again. And I couldn't help but feel that we finally been vindicated after all those years for this win, Coach. I don't know whether you thought about that or not.
Yes, I did, because I can still see Ricky D running across pattern, catching the ball, going across the field. There's one man between him and the goal line, and he stumbled and fell.
Exactly.
No side on the field as usual, and he slipped, and that's where we died right there.
It's something about old football coaches. We can still recall all those plays, but I certainly want to congratulate the team for a fine effort they made. And I commented to your wife after the game, the first year you came to Frankfort as assistant was actually 1966, not 67. That was the year that the Russellville Panthers defeated a fine Frankfort High team who had only lost 1 game up to that point. They ended up beating us 33-6 at Russellville. But that particular year was your first year at Frankfort, and we won a regional championship. That's the first regional championship in the history of the school, and I think it's very fitting that you've already announced your retirement, but here in your last year that you've come back and won another regional trophy for the school.
Well, that's true, and when you said that, I also remember the 81 game when they ran that punt back for 2.5 minutes, and then we ran the good old Princeton pass, and Rodney Reed was 1 step away from taking it all away and got cut down. So I guess after 2 or 3 like that, it's about time you pull one out.
It's kind of strange, that particular night in 81, that was the last time I'd seen these 2 teams play, and I remember I stood on the press box and helped your assistant coaches at that time with some of the play calling and trying to spot some different things. And I commented during the course of this game, that was the last time I saw these 2 teams play. But I'm sure glad tonight to be able to say that the Frankfort Panthers defeated the Paris Greyhounds and that the Panthers took the regional trophy and not the Greyhounds.
Well, it's certainly always nice to get one step closer, as you know, Wiggs. And like I said, when you coached with me and played for me, it's all for you kids because you're the ones that do it all. All the coaches do is scream and holler. So if you want to talk to some of these kids, then we'll get them out of here and get them dressed.
Congratulations, Coach. Okay. There you go, Walter. I'll let you interview some of the players.
Thank you, Ron. Well, we got two of them standing here in front of me. They're both a little camera shy, so we have Shane Smith and Marty Hammond standing here. Fellas, I guess just say what you feel.
Well, when we went in at halftime, we was going in, yes, we was down, but I seen one of the former players, Lynn Harris, and I know they had a lot of winning tradition then. The only thing I could tell him was not to go home. I was pretty confident. At times I was wondering. I admit, at the game, I was about ready to throw up at the beginning of the game, but hey, just beautiful. It might not have been 41-0, but I bet you it was a whole lot harder for them to walk out off the field than it was for us last year.
Marty?
Well, coming in the game, I was nervous. I felt like the team was ready, but I didn't feel like they were fired up like they were against Bath County. The first half, we got off to a rocky start, and I started seeing nightmares that last year come in my mind. And then I got hurt, and all I could hear was in the locker room was that we intercepted and got it down, and then we couldn't score. And it started running through my mind again. But I knew this team's got a lot of heart, and we care a lot about each other, and we didn't give up. And that's why we won the game. And we plan on going out as a winner. And we're not only winning this for us, we're winning it for Coach Webb.
Well, fellas, I know that if I can stand here and proclaim my accolades for a minute, I had the fortune of coaching most of you all when you were in the 7th and 8th grades. And although none of us told you this then, we felt that this was a team that had an opportunity to go a very long way if they stayed together, and you've done that, and you've done a very good job. And no matter what happens next week, you've put together a fine team, a fine effort, and I was certainly proud to be a part of that. And I know Coach Webb will certainly be proud to go out in a winning way. Daryl, you had a fine ball game. What they gave it to you several times up the middle for several yards. Yeah, what are your thoughts?
Also, I knew that I wanted to get me some yardage so we can get in this game, and I knew we could win, so we sucked it up and did it.
Well, next week you've got either Russellville or Todd County, but the fortunate thing about that is you'll be playing in Frankfort. So best of luck to you then.
Yeah. And all our fans come out there and support us, because I know we can do it. Go State.
Well, you got to get past one more team to get there. Paul, what about you?
I thought the second half we came out as a team, and it was really a team effort. The first half we weren't together. The second half we came out and did what we had to do. Everybody did their job, and that's what Coach Webb was telling us. If everybody just does their job, we can get it done.
Well, this is certainly the finest performance I've seen by this Frankfort High team in the 4 years that they've played. Certainly, and not to try and let you get a big head here, but you had a fine catch to set up the go-ahead touchdown, and as Ron Wigglesworth said, it was an extremely fine catch, and it was, and it seemed like you've been on the short end of a lot of these catches all season, and that was just the culmination of all that frustration.
I'm just the role player. I just do my job. What Coach Webb says, if everybody does their job, I just try to do my job. I mean, that was a good catch, but I didn't win the game. No one player out here won the game. Everybody has to do their job, and that's the way it's going to be in the next 2 weeks. If everybody does their job, we can go as far as we want to.
Okay, thank you, Paul. Okay, this is Walter Laughlin at Blanton Collier Stadium in Paris, Kentucky, where the Frankfort Panthers have defeated the Paris Greyhounds 14-13 in the regional championship game. They'll be at Sauer Field next week to face either Russellville or Todd County Central. Thank you and good night from Paris.